All right, 6:30, we'll call the meeting in order. Approve the minutes of March 14th and 27th.
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes as written for March 14th and 27th.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. You need to adjust.
I do not know.
Okay. Here, citizens.
I already said my piece.
Oh, I'd just like to make an announcement. Next Wednesday, the Planning Commission is having an open forum regarding our draft subdivision regulations. It'll be a question and answer. We're gonna have pizza, other food. Mount Escutney Regional Commission will be there as well. So,
And where is it?
Proctorsville Fire Hall. 5:30 PM.
We mostly came to hear and about Grevin and.
Yeah, that'll be coming right up.
Right,
Yep.
so we may have a question or two then.
Yep.
But before that, is there any plan for the walkway of the Green Bridge? The wooden part where, you know, the pedestrian part, that it is decidedly impacted by the flooding and needs repairs? It's a hazard. A couple hours and a couple of 2x4s would go a long way.
You know, I hadn't even noticed, so.
I walked it today and went, that's not right.
What is the Green Bridge?
Mill Street?
Oh, straight.
Right.
It's safe, but just, you know, to walk on, but I wouldn't want a toddler going on it.
What time did you say the meeting was at, Tim?
5:30.
5:30.
What day?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
That's it.
Next
We'll
Wednesday.
move on to new business. Town plan energy chapter discussion, possible adoption. Tim, if you want, anything to say?
Sure. I can kind of go over the general background of it again. So basically, Act 174 was passed in 2016, and it established a new set of municipal regional energy planning standards and guidelines. And so that it became Act 248, which is the siting process. And basically the purpose of it, why we think we should have the enhanced energy plan is so that the town gets substantial deference in energy projects, which means that if there's a energy project, whether it be solar or wind, the Public Service Board who approves these projects has to take whatever policies we have in our town plan or our enhanced energy plan chapter. They have to abide by those unless there's some overriding need from the state that this project should be approved. And I think what it does, it gives the town more power in terms of, you know, when big projects come into town. So, and the Regional Planning Commission has prepared these resource maps. Basically, this first one is solar, and it, can you see that okay? There we go. Basically identifies where the highest potential of solar is, which is all these red areas here. And then secondary is in the yellow. It shows where three-phase power is, that's in blue. Basically, I believe that's all on Tarbell Hill Road, right along here. And then we have wind potential, with the highest potential being up on Hawks Mountain here in the green. As you can see, there's really not a lot of wind potential in the town. And then hydro, which again, there's only got the dam here. And up Napa Pond, they identified that as possible location for hydro. So, and then basically there's 4 sections. Section 1 is a purpose. Basically what the state, if we adopt this, that we would be, we're not, it's not enforceable, but the goal is for the town to be 90% renewable by 2050. And they set guidelines to how to get there. And a lot of it has to do with energy efficiency, with new buildings, promoting weatherization projects, transportation, seeking alternative sources like electric cars, if that ever becomes, really feasible. Carpooling, things like that. So, but if anybody has any other questions, well, we do have, then we have section 2, which is the analysis of the energy that we use, and they look at, the different types of energy generation, where it's used, and then section 3 is the energy targets, which they say must be met if the town is to receive substantial deference. And they talk about the implementation of pathways. Again, increased use of public transportation, weatherization, carpooling, land use density, promoting cluster development within villages or just outside the villages where there's town water and sewer, things like that. And then implementation actions is section 4, and that's how we go about it. By promoting weatherization. It's not, maybe the town at some point, if electric vehicles or equipment become feasible, looking into it. Doesn't say you have to do it. But, but we've been working on it for, I guess, like 3 or 4 or 5 years now. And I anticipate if it does get adopted, probably in a few years, we'll have to update, all of like the energy usage and things like that. But I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments.
Well, just the one thing to clarify, the issue was brought up about some of these standards change every year, and what we have in there now may not be, maybe different next year. And
Right.
do we wait 3 or 4 years, or do we try to update every year?
Well, the planning commission, we're in the process of looking at the town plan because it was written, I think it was actually written in 2015, and it took like 4 years. So a lot of the existing information is pretty old in terms of statistics and numbers. So I would imagine we would be looking at that as well, the energy chapter.
That's coming up for renewal of town plan in
2027?
oh
Yeah,
oh right, we readopted it just
or 28. Yeah, that's 2028.
because of the
But it's going to take
so.
quite a while to rewrite.
Yeah, that's
So, and it seems like too
Process.
that things change so rapidly compared with the town plan 30 years ago. It was like maybe 15 pages, and it's almost becoming more of a legal document. And being that Cavendish has no zoning, it's important that we have a strong town plan.
All right, any other questions?
I guess I have a question or a comment. While the town plan's being updated, what is the harm of having this energy chapter be adopted when the town plan is adopted in 27? Because everything that I read in the proposed energy chapter has old data it's not current. And then COVID hit and everything changed. So everything that's in this energy plan is based on pre-COVID data. And we all know how fast, like you said, everything is changing. I just feel like us as a community and we need to just sit on this just for a hot minute. I mean, a year maybe, or adopt it with the town plan as a fluid document all at once.
Well, we did sit on it for a few years, hot years. And it's good to have something in place in case something comes in. If something comes in next year, we have nothing. If we do this, we can always update it, but we'll have something. So I think it's,
Is there no control already over projects of that size?
Not with energy projects, because that's under Act 248.
Okay.
So that's the Public Service Board
Okay,
that reviews them, not Act 250.
so it's not a private thing, we're talking about,
It would be somebody who wanted to build, say, a large solar farm.
okay.
It could be on private property, but it would be,
So the energy
Corporation.
plan and the goals actually encourage, from what I'm seeing, they encourage that type of development because it says we're gonna meet these goals, 80 acres of solar fields by X amount of dates, so I'm confused. I don't know, I just don't understand,
Well, it looks, if with substantial deference, the Public Service Board, they would look at the enhanced energy chapter. Like, for instance, we have a section in there on landscape screening, visibility from public rights of way that need to be addressed, environmental concerns like not building in wetlands, respecting, habitat areas, which if it's not in, if we don't have that enhanced energy plan, so if there was a big project that came into town, we wouldn't have substantial deference and they would just,
they have no control whatsoever. So the
Probably
town has
not.
no control.
I mean, we could,
for those types of
we
projects.
could certainly write our objections but it gives it more teeth if we have substantial
Okay.
deference.
But there's zero control without the document, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Maybe not
Zero?
zero,
Right.
but it's a lot less.
Right,
So if that, like, basically, they'd have to just give due consideration,
Okay,
which, I'll read that. It's to give such weight or significance to a particular factor under the circumstances it seems to merit. And this involves discretion, so they have a lot of discretion whether to, approve it or not. So according to this, that if we get substantial deference, they have to, look at whatever policies we have and they have to
Okay.
abide by those.
Okay.
Unless it's a, bigger fish with the state that they need this project. So, and I don't believe, I talked to the public commissioner last year, I don't think any project has been before this yet, so. It's like an insurance policy, that's the way I look at it. For the town.
So, the discussion on renewables, do we get, environmental credit for the fact that there's the hydro dam? Because I would imagine, does that not produce more electricity than the town consumes?
It's part of it, it's renewable, so that's put in the mix, I'm
I mean,
not sure
however
what
many-
it is.
However much electricity it generates,
Right,
that should count as some percentage of what we use.
I'm not sure how that works, because it's not owned by the town, but like the solar farm is owned by the town, and that's a direct benefit, yeah, that goes right in, so.
Yeah, the hydro goes into the grid or about,
Well, all of it goes into the,
GMP, right,
Right.
but any GMP controls, that doesn't, those
Doesn't-
electrons don't necessarily come to my house.
well, again, if the goal is for more, then every town needs their own hydroelectric in their place, and we get credit for ours.
I mean, I think it is in there, actually. So,
Yeah, it's part of the inventory.
part of the inventory, yeah.
Right, any other questions? If not, what is your pleasure?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the enhanced energy chapter
Second.
to be put in the town plan.
Steve seconded it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. All right, that's been adopted. We'll move on to two, Griffin Field discussions.
Now that spring is here and snow is gone, we can kind of need to really move forward with what we're gonna do and what kind of plan that we're gonna have. I mean, Stephanie's here. I've talked to her a few times. It can't, Reverend, unfortunately, just can't be what it was. We can't put sheds and fences and everything down there. But you can have open field recreation, so we can rebuild the baseball field to an extent. We can't really have like the backstop and the outside fence. So for Little League, it's iffy, but T-ball or pickup games, it's, still something that we can do. My thought is, you have that open recreation, we can come up with other stuff that doesn't require the fencing and all the sheds and the dugouts, whether it's disc golf or concentrate on the walking path type thing. Maybe you have little exercise stations along the river, people can relax, something on those lines. But I kind of want to put this and get the board's feel on what direction we want to go before we put together a big plan on if there's any visions that the board has that they want to see down there, or talk about what what you think we can see down there, and of course the public as well. But it's difficult. We all want a baseball field, but
We do, and I know there's some history behind it, and people really want to see it back there, but I have a hard time understanding why we should spend money on a field that's gonna get flooded again. It was flooded again last Friday. And it's gonna happen, who knows when next. Could be 2 weeks from now, could be a month from now. And I think there's been some talk about using Ludlow's fields for stuff.
we're gonna have to this year anyways. Yeah, I mean Ludlow's not rebuilding their Little League field.
Right.
Either, right.
I just don't see why the town would put any money into it and make the taxpayers, foot the bill. It doesn't make much sense when it's gonna get flooded again. I mean, just something very simple like a walking path or something is fine, but
And my thought for discussion as well, if we did put in the baseball field, there'd be no clay, it'd be grass, so it would not wash away.
Is it feasible, I don't know, to have some sort of backstop that the fencing wouldn't go to the ground? It would stay above the flood stage level somehow? Like you'd have posts, but the fencing part wouldn't start, so you'd have a gap at the bottom.
I'd say
I was just-
90% of the ones I watch in Little League baseball hit the bottom of the fence.
They do.
So, yeah.
I agree with Dave, I just can't, she's putting a lot of money into it, because it is gonna get flooded again. I know the RV group, they're not going back.
Yeah, I hadn't heard whether or not,
No.
they haven't contacted me whether they wanted to.
I talked to them today, and they just don't wanna put the money into it.
I mean, I'd take a better look at the regs too, the flood hazard, that's one of the biggest things. People can't be putting fences up, so we can't either.
No,
So, but whether or not we could have a picnic table or two and a grill, have a nice community space, just not the type of structures we had before.
Right.
And I will say that some of this as well it'll come up later in the meeting with the flood resilience study. Imagine that field will come up in discussion for for helping with any future flooding or what they would want to see there, so.
All right, Abe, you got a comment?
I was just wondering again, I think you wouldn't be able to get away with a backstop that didn't come all the way down to the ground, but you might be able to get away with a backstop that wasn't anchored to the ground, so that it wasn't fencing. You know, I can envision something that could be moved or removed. Same with structures, same with fencing for that matter, if it was temporary fencing, so it wasn't put in. You know, like you see them set up during riots or something, they put fences up and then they take them down. You know, it would be possible to have something, because it definitely is gonna get flooded again. But the other thing is that there's only so much flat space in Vermont, and most of it's by rivers. So we sort of have to figure out how do we use it in a way that, you know, I could envision, you know, a couple of trailers, you know, one for a shed, you know, an equipment shed, one for like a food truck trailer, and you know, if the water even starts to look high, you know, you tone out the fire departments, they'll come down with their trucks, pull them out, park them, you know, someplace high, and then if it's a false alarm, all right, it's an hour that saved it. If it's not, well, then they're up and out of the way, and when it's back, we put it back. I think there are ways to do it. Again, it's not going to be completely, you know, flood proof, but it would be significantly flood resistant, and it wouldn't mean a significant change of life for the town. You know, we're going to have our first opening day. You know, where we're not driving, you know, the kids, you know, down there, and you know, it's going to be a big change. You know, I think it would be doable, sensitive to all the concerns, but it would just require a little bit of creative thinking.
And what about the Fletcher Field? Is that like any better? Or just as bad?
Just
Not
as
even a
bad.
little, you know, nothing.
Yeah, that's what I was the other day too.
Yeah, that goes.
I do like the idea that you were talking about. I mean, what if it's a different kind of recreation? Disc golf doesn't require fences. You know, a picnic table, things like that. They're more community minded as well, and not involving things that we have to move.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, there could be some other sports
Or something.
put in there.
Or if we could have some sort of storage so that we could have soccer balls in there and pop up goals, so we can just put the goals out when they want to play. They can kick soccer balls. Maybe we can have like some leftover gloves in there, a bucket of balls, so that it's just an open field to play in. I don't know how tedious it would be to do like a temporary fence around a field. I know Ludlow has one, so I can talk to Nick to see how much that is to take it up and take it down, but it's something we could definitely look into.
There might be a piece of land down there that's not in the trifecta of the floodway, the flood area, and the river corridor for a shed, but I don't know exactly where the property lines are, because it would have to be a little further up.
Wouldn't it?
Just a second, go ahead, Dave.
I would think it'd be beneficial to wait until the flood resiliency study was done before spending any money at all on the field. I don't know how far away that is, but
It's a ways.
still,
Right.
why waste money in the meantime?
Right.
Fletcher Field, I think Shannon mentioned that. It looks to me like it's quicker to use that. It's in better shape than that field is right now.
We did talk about Fletcher a little bit before, of making it playable for possibly T-ball too and stuff like that. Yeah.
Granted, that will get flooded again too, but it's not gonna have the damage that has been done to Grevin Field.
I have a question about what the flood elevation is. How much higher would something have to be? Because I know, you know, that's one of the concerns. Any sense as to how much higher something would have to be there?
I don't know unless we had it surveyed, or I'm not sure what the elevation, how much it would have to go up. I'm assuming it's quite a bit.
I would assume so too, but like I said, that was you know, one of those things of, well, you know, how high would it have to be?
Right.
Because there is you are allowed to add dirt for raising a building in order to meet the standards. And it would require a lot of dirt, but you could put a significant amount of dirt in there that would change the dynamic.
I think that's if you're raising an existing building, not adding.
Not one that washed down. I mean, I know that a lot of gravel came out of the river, you know, if we trucked it down there, it would raise up.
I mean, that flood resilience study usually talks about planting stuff. Maybe you could have some sort of plantings out in the outfield for a temporary fence. It's the backstop that's gonna be the problem.
I was just gonna add on Fletcher, I normally had 3 soccer fields on there, but this year because of the flooding, it was super unsafe to put fields in 2 spots, so that would have to be also worked on because the ground was not level at all. It was like complete bumps and ruts in the ground.
Any other questions? Any questions from the board?
I just the idea that maybe some other things could be done there that the community can use sounds good. I mean,
Where are we playing in Ludlow?
Hmm?
Where are we playing in Ludlow?
Dorsey.
Dorsey. So you talked about using the high school field?
That as well.
Yeah. I don't think they've done too much there yet, but I think it is in talks to use it.
Okay.
I don't think the schedule's been set on who's playing
No.
where yet.
No. Yeah, all the teams right now are playing at Dorsey.
Which is part of the reason why Ludlow isn't rebuilding their Little League field,
Right.
is that they've got 2 other viable options. I think it is significant to note that the Ludlow field that got flooded, the dugouts were built, and I think the sheds, but I know the dugouts were built to flood specs, and they survived the flood. And so then, you know, it is a matter of cleaning them up and such, but they didn't wash down the river because they were solid concrete. So it is doable if you can, again, you know, a little creatively around fencing and the backstop and things, but the buildings can be built to be resistant.
Now, anything that we would build there would also need state approval too, and that's gonna be,
Hard.
they'll say no.
Certainly if you don't ask.
Right. Any other questions? If not, we'll move on. All right, we'll move on to 3, review and sign the town highway annual financial plan.
I met with Megan Bronk a few weeks ago. She, of course, has this, made this financial plan, the yearly financial plan, that requires board signature.
yeah, I had a question on that.
Okay.
Page 4, which has the adjusted general highway expense, winter expense, non-winter expense.
Oh, because resurfacing, it does not count? Is that why?
Well, yeah, the number didn't add up. I couldn't see where you got 389, 396. Nothing taken out or added to.
It's minus the calcium chloride and the resurfacing, because that's not routine maintenance. They don't consider that.
Oh, I see. And then you also subtract 130 from that? Is that how that?
Add the 130, so you get the 515 minus 6,000 minus the 250,000 and plus the
Plus, yeah, so that would come up to more than, because 515 is more than 389. So that's what I just was confusing with that number. And then when I looked on page 2, right, because then that resurfacing was added in to get the 1,031,000. So I was like,
right.
I don't want.
Yeah, I read this a few times as well because it was when she does these, they look confusing at them.
But those are okay. So.
The second page with your signatures if you want to do them as we go.
Yep, we'll do that as we go.
So do we just sign this or do we need,
Yeah, this is just the yearly signatures that says that you're
it's
gonna
not.
spend over the $300 per mile.
Motion to accept it or something.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all right, I'll just, because I think we've done that before.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I'll move that we accept the annual financial plan and the town highways.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
All right,
Opposed, none?
All these signatures, it's like the beginning of the year housekeeping. Right?
Okay, if that's going around, we'll go to 4. Annual Certificate of Compliance Road and Bridge Standards.
This certification of compliance, just, it states that we have an inventory of culvert and bridges and that our adopted standards are, meet the minimum state requirements.
What's your pleasure?
I move we accept the annual certificate of compliance of road and bridge standards.
I'll second it. All in favor?
All right.
Opposed, none?
Thanks.
That's more now, we move to 5, discuss 2024 paving.
I had a local contractor just kind of give me an estimate of a project to, just so I knew if we had enough money to go out to bid. I didn't want to go out to bid and not have enough money. So I had him look at Whitesville Road, which with that 250,000, I believe we can just cover Whitesville Road. Obviously, we'll still go out, go out to bid, see what we get for bids. But it's gonna be close. We have a few culverts to put there first, which I wanna get on as soon as we can if we're gonna move forward with doing this road. Obviously, the other big one that's in bad shape is Quint Phelan. But we can't do that road this year because of the culvert at the bottom has failed. And it needs a hydraulic study done, which we've requested, but they won't be done until August. So we don't even know what we can put in there, whether it's gonna need a box culvert or if it's gonna need, or if the same size culvert will be fine. But there's no sense in paving that until we have that underground. But, we're looking at, between with materials, we're looking about 220-ish thousand to do Whitesville Road.
What was I saw on the proposal, it says existing pavement 3,350 feet by 22 feet by 20 feet. What is, how
I
could
think
you?
it's in spots it's 22, in other spots it's 20.
Oh, okay, so it's not, yeah, because that just didn't make sense. And then the gravel, that's almost 1,000 yards or more. Of what
So
they're
there's a
saying.
lot of gravel, and the whole base
For
is
that first
gone.
proposal.
It would be the second as well. The base of that road is gone. They have to pretty much tear it out and rebuild. The small section, we're not gonna do the whole road to save money. But where it's bad down at the bottom, really needs the base to be rebuilt before we pave it.
So you're thinking just going to the bridge or even after?
No, this would be the whole road.
Oh, it would be,
But
okay,
just
but
the
not
total
the whole road being, right, based out.
Yeah, but just the total rebuild would be, from the bridge down.
Yeah.
Where it's just,
Yeah, there's
You can
that
tell it's-
huge lake there now, which never used to be there. I don't know if there's a culvert that's plugged in there.
there will be a culvert
There
there.
will be a culvert there.
Nobody knows if there is one, why the water keeps going up and down.
Yeah,
What, did there used to be a mill there a long time ago? that used to take water, and then, I'm not sure, could be an old stone sleuthway in there.
This is right up from Pixley's, right
Yep.
above Pixley's, yeah, the big,
Yeah, I'm not sure what's there, but
what was Pixley's?
there will be something there before.
Yeah.
So in order to do the full length of that road, you have to have both options done, correct?
No, it's just, no. The full length, it was just dependent on how much we wanted to do going up through. That was what the two differences were.
I mean, do you have any record of
Restudying
when
this.
the last time that was done? Cause I remember it was well before Irene and stuff. So that's 20 years, so 25 years.
So the bottom one, it leaves out the gravel, is that correct?
Yes,
Yes, so you don't want that.
Yeah, cause that's a lot of the town, work too, and labor, I guess, huh, doing that.
well, we were
And we were
supplying the
gonna
materials.
work on the roads this summer. Getting the gravel on them.
And there's around 250,000 in the budget, correct?
Correct.
That's what we put, yeah, that comes in after July 1.
Where are we on the state list for matching or funds?
We're up for a structure grant this year, which we'll have to decide right soon. My thought is if we're gonna need a new box culvert up at
Yeah.
Quinn Phelan, we can delay that for a year and still be at the top. I think it's next year, I'm not sure exactly where we are on the paving one. I'd hate to say.
Then there was the one on 20 Mile by Bates Mansion
There is,
and on Brook Road. That
Yeah.
one there was cracked. And
yep, we're getting hydraulic studies done for the Meadow Brook Farm one. I don't believe there was one done there. There was one done on 20 Mile. That just needs a new bottom port in it, which that was another option of using that structures grant, other than you wouldn't be able to use that to pave Quinn Phelan anytime if you used it there. That needs a new inverted port in the bottom. And then we have some on Cavendish Gulf that we're doing studies on as well. Some that are in need of replacement. But you can't do anything without the studies, so.
well, if we can manage to keep doing this every year, allocating that amount, we'll be able to catch up a little bit on some of the roads.
And this is an expensive road. Whitesville Road's an expensive road. The rule of thought is you don't do your worst roads first. You save the roads that you can before they get that bad. But we're not in a position to do that. I don't believe we should be paving a decently paved road right now to protect it when we have roads that just are pretty close to undrivable, so.
The 200 feet of linear 6-inch and stuff, is that across from Fitzgerald? Where is that supposedly located? The 200 feet of linear feet of 6-inch under drain?
Oh, up on the hill. Now I see what you're saying.
Oh, that's up on the hill.
Up on the hill.
Okay, because that first part right around Fitzgerald's there was always problematic too. It puddled, there really wasn't a good
I had
drainage there.
Fawn go through since I wasn't here, I had him go through this, make sure he knew exactly what they were talking about, more so than I haven't had a chance to talk to him since I've been back. But this is, instead of getting an engineered study on there, we went with somebody that's luckily local to us and was willing to say what it really needs. That reminds me for next week. But I can put that out to bid if we agree that that would be the road.
Yeah, we'll have to, well, you'll pick the specs to put out, right?
Yeah.
Specific.
So do we have a consensus to move on with that?
Yeah, that's
All right,
Perfect.
good. All right, if we're done with that, we'll go to 6, yearly local emergency management plan update.
So another little housekeeping, every year we have to update or at least sign the local emergency management plan for the town. I went over this with the emergency coordinator. There was only a couple minor changes with phone numbers and that's it. So it requires the full, no, it just, this is like chairman, I believe.
Okay. Yep. All right, now we'll move on to Old Town Garage additional site investigation.
So after the diesel fill, we had the first original, the site investigation for, because of this spill. And part of that, it came up with a couple of different problems that the state has recommended we do an additional site investigation. We had levels of naphthalene and trimethylbenzene in the groundwater down over the bank is what it was. But it wasn't really a good time to do that. So they recommend, now this time of year, that we go and we do more study to see whether or not something has to be done, whether for cleanup or what we have to do there. This is still working on whether or not this is, through insurance, haven't got that answer completely. They've been covering this so far. I do know it is a possibility to go to the Petroleum Cleanup Fund if insurance does not cover these investigations. And of course, we still don't know exactly what the findings are gonna be. And both of those chemicals are found in diesel fuel, but they're also found in paint and paint thinners, and it was a town garage for a long time. That's the problem with doing these studies, not that we have a choice to do it or not, but that's the problem with doing these on any ground you have around a working site. What are you gonna come up with?
Is there any real plan to move the diesel tank out of there? Because we talked about that, and I thought that was a priority for a while, but then it got.
Yeah, and no, I have not. Every once in a while I go, oh man, I gotta move that, and then, but the solid plan, I would have to say no to.
Is the pump locked so that it doesn't ever happen again, or?
What they did is they siphoned it out.
So it is locked then,
What?
the pump?
The pump's not locked,
No,
no.
one problem we had is when we went to lock it, I believe, they said they won't deliver fuel, because with a lock on it. Cause they wanna be there when we're not there. But we'll get it moved and we'll get something better there. I mean, it can be moved down to there, I just need to, a new containment thing down there, you know, that type of
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah.
we can move it. And we do have cameras down there, so.
Yeah, it's a lot further from the river.
Mm.
It'd be better.
But this also requires a signature as well. I can sign this one if it doesn't matter. Either way. All right.
You can sign it. We gotta do it anyway, so,
If we're good with it.
yeah.
And it's not a bad price, I mean, unfortunately. Environmental stuff is pricey. I did have Regional Planning Commission look at it and see whether or not they agreed with the price, and they do.
Good. All right. Flood study funding update.
I was hoping we were gonna have, somebody here from Regional Planning to talk about this a little bit as well. But I know he was in another meeting, so he wasn't sure if he was gonna make it. But we've talked about this flood study. It covers all town, Cavendish, Ludlow, and Plymouth. We kind of got the ball rolling with this, so we're kind of the lead with the grants. That being said, in order to move forward with the grants, it requires a signature from the select board chairman. And this is the second. We have one grant, a BRIC grant, which is just building resilient infrastructure in communities. That's gonna cover a lot of the cost. This MTAP grant is municipal, it's through the Vermont Emergency Management. It's the Municipal Technical Assistance Program or something. It'll cover the match, so we have no match for this study. So we can get this study done and moving along with no out-of-pocket money from us, Ludlow or Plymouth, so. But it just requires a signature, which is the agreement with Mount Escutney Regional Commission to work on this for us.
Okay.
I know this topic is probably taboo, but is there any discussion with this group or with some of the other towns along the Black River corridor of dredging up some of the stuff that's been dumped into the river?
Dredging it up?
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, we created the problem because, and not we, but at some point, the people of Vermont created the problem by moving the rivers.
right,
If they wanna keep it from flooding, at some point, they're gonna have to probably dredge the rivers.
and I know Ludlow's really trying to do it now, I don't know how actively they're trying, I mean, we were lucky to do this over here. But there is a lot of rumbling throughout all the towns to get together and kind of give the state a push to allow it.
Got it.
Because, I mean, we didn't get that much rain this
Right.
past couple of weeks and it flooded Grabbing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just gonna keep happening, and then it's gonna flood here, and it's gonna flood there, and there's just gonna be more silt and stuff that's.
And hopefully, maybe this study will actually say some of that. And if it does, of course, that gives us a lot
Yeah.
better action plan to be able to.
And I know it disrupts the ecosystems, I'm a biologist, I get it, but
Right.
If you go down 131, there's quite a few trees now
Yeah,
that need to come out of the river.
Yeah. And there's gonna be a lot more because they're all overhanging
Oh, yeah,
all the
they are.
roads.
just at some point, somebody's gonna have to seriously look at how high the riverbeds are compared to what they used to be.
I know-
And that's part of your
I know
problem.
when we did over here, I did the estimate off of 6 feet of gravel. When we got the permit, that's what we were gonna take out, 30,000 yards, this distance, 6 feet deep. And there was one or two spots where they wanted to see how deep it was, and they were at 10 feet and they were still in gravel, which was probably Irene, and then,
Yeah.
but there was twice as much over there than we took out, and we took out a lot.
Thing is, who's gonna pay for that?
That's the thing.
That's the big question.
Or, I mean, if the state's even gonna allow it, cause
Yeah, there's
my guess.
that debate, but even if they did, unless they fund it, which they're not always that keen on.
At some point, they're gonna have to.
I would think they're gonna have to, cause I don't quite understand why they're so against it. Cause it did wonders over here,
Yeah.
so. And we didn't ruin any ecosystem there, I mean, we just took out some gravel and it all came from our roads to begin with.
Right.
Yeah, but digging that up, it carries stuff downstream and it affects everything that lives in the river. And I totally get it, but at some point.
Yeah. But we were still in gravel here, so. That would just need your signature.
Right there, yeah.
I'm kind of interested to see what this study's gonna bring forward.
Yes.
And I'm really glad that it's the whole watershed, not just us, not just Ludlow, not just Plymouth. I mean, you gotta do it as a whole unit.
Right.
Did we ever get fined for, or anybody for, when you have a flood and the sewer goes out, or you gotta dump water like Ludlow? I don't know if that was never any real.
I doubt they did, but I'm not sure. But usually you can do some sort of treatment. I don't know Ludlow's specifics. You can do at least primary treatment and get it something.
Yeah, cause, we're downstream, so we get.
Everybody's downstream of a
Yes.
sewer plant. Doesn't matter where you are.
All right. Town managers report.
I did not write one. I do want to thank Mitchell Benoit and Miguel Sebring for kind of helping us out with the transfer station. They stepped up, and that was a big help. I know before last week we had just put in for been working on the Category A, which is debris removal with FEMA. That's about $350,000 worth. So that's in the works. We have a few smaller projects that are in the final review and waiting for signatures, which, I can't remember the complete number, but 30,000, under 100,000. But it's starting to come together where we're starting to put that together and get some money on the way back.
Reimbursement,
Mhm.
Is that it for now?
Yep.
Dave?
The only other thing I have is just what Ricky said, that Mitch is doing a good job at the recycling center. I was down there and he seems to be doing very well.
Absolutely been a huge help.
Shannon?
Nothing, Tim stole my thunder. I was gonna say the subdivision regulation meeting at the fire hall on the 24th at 5:30.
Nothing wrong with spreading the word.
Nope. George?
I'm fine.
Mike?
Yeah, last month we got this letter from Dr. Nelson at Springfield. We get that through you?
Yep,
Okay.
I believe so.
Is it part of the minutes? Can we read it into the minutes? How does that work?
That was the one.
We're addressing the concern that this citizen had about
The
the
ambulance?
ambulance service.
I was hoping to have it on this meeting, but it might be on May's meeting to have the discussion, so I can read that at that meeting.
Okay,
For the minutes, I got it written down to have that for next month.
Okay.
okay.
Okay, I'm good. Then motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Opposed? None.